what I had to do. There's nothing special about me. My mom and dad were hard workers. They didn't believe in financing a lot of things. They were afraid of buying a lot of stuff on time. So what they did was they saved their money.
Come on.
And if they was going out to get a washing machine, they would save up and go get it, because they were just terrified of buying anything on time. So I learned those lessons. And my mother kept all the money. She was the business in the family. She paid the bills. Dad brought the money home. She put it in a Crown Royal bag and stuck it in a hole in the wall. So that's where I come from. And so that's what I'm hoping to pass on to you today. Let me start with this. Are you guys aware that our credit card debt is at 1.115 trillion today? It's higher now than it was pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. So we're using our credit card debt to sustain and survive. Those are some things we need to pay attention to, especially when you're getting into credit. I didn't always have good credit. I didn't always make good decisions. I was a bonehead for a long time. I didn't figure things out probably till I was the age of 30. When I thought I had to have a car every year. I thought I had to do all this crazy spending that didn't make a lot of sense, because I was trying to go somewhere, but I was fighting against the currents that God was trying to put me on. I finally got it all figured out. But I want to talk about building business capacity to succeed. Your model is going to be your tendency. It'll tell you a lot about your habits and spending. If you're informed, you're going to make good informed business decisions. When I was the mayor of Ringgold, I inherited a town that was in the red financially. And we could have just grinded along. But like my mom always said, leave it better than you found it. And being the first black mayor, being the first black any person of color going into any job for the first time, you got to set your standards high, because they expect us to fail and fall below the standard.
That's right.
So you have to be cautious about that. And I wanted to leave it better than I found it, so I took the personal challenge of saying I'm going to turn Ringgold's finances around. And when I got them, they were in the red. They were robbing from one account to pay the other. But when I left them, we were independent, and we had a savings account with over $500,000 in it. This is a small town, population 1,300. So I'm most proud of that. There's so many things you can do as a mayor and make accomplishments when you're fighting against the city council members. I had to learn how to be a politician, because I was never a politician. I cut my teeth in business. And so those are some things that I thought were pretty positive, not necessarily for me, but you want to make way for the next person of color that's coming along eventually behind you. So then you can say, well, we had some success in our color rank. So there's no reason why the next woman of color, man of color, can't achieve the same goals or objectives. So success. How I became a business person. You know, I grew up is the store I would later own. In the industry, well, we call it a convenience store. Everybody understands convenience store. And we're going to talk about models. In the industry, we call it C. They're just C stores. But everybody's familiar with a C store. You know, you travel, you stop, you want to get some quick gas, things like that. Most of the models are the same. You can get some cigarettes, you can get some beer, you can probably get money orders, you can probably buy lottery tickets. Those models tend to be the same. And now I was pumping gas. I was 13, 14, 15 years old, so we had a full service thing going. I would pump gas, check your oil, check your air, and that's the things I did as a kid. When I was about 30 years old, the owners asked me if I would like to buy the store. But I didn't have credit. I couldn't get a loan. I didn't have any collateral. And so there was another person came along and beat me to the punch because he had access to capital. And I was was heartbroken because I thought I was going to own the store that I grew up working at. But when I tell you God already had it in the plan for me, so his timing is the best timing. So I went on, I was living in Plano then, I was a city administrator, working on budgets. Come on. Working with city council members. I see God had to send me on a training trip to learn what I was about to step into. And so I was a city manager for a while, and most of my job was budgeting. Let's be honest. If you're not budgeting, you're shooting from the hip. And you don't want to do that with your business. In my house, we have one checkbook at a time. I reconcile my checkbook just like I talk to God. That's every day, all day. And so that's how we operate. When I open a new checkbook out of a new box, I always put the date it's opened. And once I write that very last check, I put it in that same box and I put the date this checkbook box was closed. Wrap it with a rubber band, save it for 2 years, and then wait for the free shredding to come around in Shreveport and get rid of it. But it's all about budgeting. That's how we managed to get through the town of RINGGOLD. And it took a little effort because you have to hold your department heads accountable for spending the money that has been allocated. And you want to land that plane at the end of the year within that margin that you have set, so that you can have a successful audit, and you can go ahead and start planning and creating a vision for the next year. It's all about making the plan, holding them accountable, and it's a tendency that takes a little bit of time, patience, and training. Yeah. Because especially when we're not used to it. Like I said, if there's no budget, you're just shooting from the hip, which is what we were doing, which is what put us in the red in the first place. So here comes Stephone introducing something new, and they thought I was more or less trying to take something from them, but they're so used to having things, but they're not appreciative of the condition that we have allowed ourselves to come into. So that's just one thing. Anyway, I didn't get the store. I even went to my local bank. People that know me, you think going local might be a good thing. Yeah. Small towns, everybody knows one another. But again, I just didn't have a credit history to show. I would get a phone call 3 or 4 months later from the person who purchased the store. And he said, "Are you still interested?" Because he was losing money hand over fist. Come on. He didn't live in the community, so he didn't know anyone. And so they were basically robbing him blind and wearing him out. And I said yes. Now the store price initially was $350,000, so I needed a $350,000 loan, which is nowhere I could get it. He ended up selling it to me for $150,000, and all I had to do was take over his loan. So that's how I ended up getting the store that I own today. So it's by God's grace. And when I got ready to purchase the store, I did some homework on convenience stores. So I went and talked to some people who I thought were doing really, really good at it. And most of them were foreigners. And so I met a friend, and he was an Indian. And that's what I learned about sales per square foot. If you go in some of these convenience stores, you see how well stocked they are. Yeah. From the floor to the ceiling. Some of them hardly any room to get around inside there. Sales per square foot matter, because otherwise it's dead space, and you're heating and cooling dead space. Yeah. You need to make up for that in sales. So that's where your business model has to be spot on and accurate. You got to know your product, you got to know your target audience, and you got to know that it's going to sell, and you'll be productive and you'll be successful. Exactly. So that's time tested. You got to study the trends, and that was my. I did a little stint in the Army Air Force Exchange DoD program where I was a finance analyst. Again, God was preparing me. So I was always exposed to data and creating presentations presentations and reports for the CFO to give to the board of directions. So I was getting all of this training, all of this knowledge. So when it came time to own my own store, I was more than ready, and I was more than equipped. When it came time to be a mayor, I was more than ready. Yeah, I was more than equipped. I felt confident, but I had to go through that in order to gain that confidence to be well in the jobs that ensued ahead of me. So now I own a store. I own a convenience store, but the problem is I just bought a home in that part of Texas, Jerry. Okay, I remember right outside of Anahuac. I just bought a brand new home, and the same day I closed on the house, we had to drive all the way to Minden to close on the store, and that was in June of 2003, 2004. That's when that was. Mm-hmm. And so now we're trying to figure two things out. So I had to let my wife and my dad kind of operate it. We were still figuring it all out, and there was no deli, so we added a deli. Okay. Later on for that yield, right? Okay. And guess who I called? I called my late cousin Orlandeaux. Okay. I said, cousin, I'm interested in starting a deli down here. And he came down, we sat down, and we talked. He's the one who taught me how to prepare a plate to maximize your yield, to maximize your business profit. Most of your profits will be made in your kitchen if you do it right. And so Orlandeaux and I was very close. We were two sisters' children, but we were more like brothers than cousins. So we played a lot of golf. We traveled a lot. We shared hotel rooms, and the good thing about traveling with Orlandeaux, he always packed a cooler with some red beans, sausage, and rice, and some gumbo, and all that stuff. So we certainly miss him dearly, but he and I talked a lot about business, and we picked each other's brain about the things that were taking place in the businesses. Now, when I was in the military, I came home one day to visit Orlandeaux, and he was in what was then Freeman and Harris. I want to talk about a model that you all are very familiar, may even well be familiar with. And he was elbow deep in some dirty rice that he was mixing up. And I thought, I had never seen a commercial kitchen before. And I had never seen pots that big before. And so, but he called me in there, so I'm in the kitchen where all the action is. And it was just good to see him in action. Now, my cousin Orlandeaux could have played pro baseball if he wanted to, but it was clear that his passion was cooking. And so that model that he learned from originally came from the Freeman and Harris model that had been established legendarily for years, right? And so Freeman Harris begat brothers. Brothers begat
Pete Harris.
Pete Harris begat the brothers.
There you go.
All right. And the brothers begat Orlandeaux.
There you go.
And so that's the trend line that we're seeing. And that's where Orlandeaux was cutting his teeth. But he had the lineage coming out of the Pete Harris organization, the restaurateur. And he was being taught and trained in that lineage. So that was a model that he was able to embrace. And he was, a week before he passed away, another story, I was at the old Monkhouse location in his office, the little tight space that he had as an office. And he said, take me to pick up my son from school. We had to go pick up Adam. And Orlandeaux wanted his sons to have the restaurant.
That's right.
And that was clear. We talked a lot about those kind of things. So we went to pick up his son, and on the way back, he was saying, I need to get back because Damien is on schedule today. And he better have his butt on time. So I'm like, okay, well, he was showing him some things, and he wanted to be there when he got there so he was passing that business knowledge on to his oldest son. And so that was interesting to me because, family tends to pass that knowledge and wisdom down to its siblings. And then came along Damien. Well, unfortunately, the Lord called Orlandeaux home to be with him. And there was some turmoil, there was some confusion after his passing. And then there was some spinoff. Yeah, some folks took some spinoff opportunity. And, then came the Brotherly Love restaurant. Then came the Cajun Down South restaurants. And in the meantime, the Monkhouse location was empty, lifeless. We were getting bad grades on the health department. AC and heating units weren't working well. These spinoffs took off on their own, trying to use the same business model created by Orlandeaux Chapter. Let me say this: you can't enrich yourself with someone else's vision because it's not sustainable. It's not for you. It's not for you. What's for you is for you. You have to adopt your own model. Let me tell you this: there was a barbecue place in Los Angeles, black-owned barbecue place, and many years ago. He had been in business for 20 plus years. Everybody knew about it. He didn't have a lot of space inside. It was you had to order it and come pick it up. You put a standing room on to get your food, and then you go. Not much room inside to eat. It was 20 years in the making. Everybody was loving the barbecue. The owner got an idea that he needed more space. So he sold that location and went and bought a new location. And the business didn't last 1 year. Well, he went out of business. See, once you change location, you change your model. Your model changes because the geography has changed. Your target audience has changed. Yeah, he still got some customers, but now it's more inconvenient for them to drive across town to catch up with him, to try to do business with him. And that might not be sustainable. And so when I talk to you about your model is based on what exists in front of you right now, where you are trying to set up your tent to be successful. That's the model that you want to use. Let's look at some successful models. McDonald's has a successful model. And it's foolproof. The one thing about McDonald's, it's a brand that even a 2-year-old can recognize. And worldwide, all children recognize those golden arches. So the brand is established many years ago. They fine-tuned it and streamlined it to where you don't have to be a college grad or high school grad to work at a McDonald's. So they don't have to have high-skilled labor. Anyone that's able to work can work and make money at the McDonald's. That model has been established. And they usually put them in places that are easy to locate, right off the interstates and so forth. So when you're building your model and your plan, it's tailored to fit your needs for your community or the target audience that you have come into contact with, that you feel you can serve. So it takes a little time, takes a little planning, and we can always be honest on the fact that we might not always figure ourselves out till later on in life. Once you do, then your game plan can be more clear as to how you want to achieve that success. I wanted to say or add that while all that spinoff was going on, what was little Damien doing? He was back there at the old location off of Monkhouse. He still had a job, using all his money to patch up the old location, trying to get things running, get some paint on the walls. He found a contractor that was very reasonable to help him get some things underway. What was he doing? He was chopping wood. He was being obedient. He knew what his dad was leaving for him was for him. He knew that God had already anointed the restaurateur business in the family. And he was steady working. I would always tell him what his dad always told me. So I would encourage him. I said, what's for you is for you. Just stay in the fight. Let's keep keep your nose to the grindstone and keep on working. Next thing I know, he's having a reveal. And the rest, ladies and gentlemen, is history, right? So it's about obedience. And the Bible says obedience is better than sacrifice. That's not Stephone. That's 1 Samuel. So obedience is better than sacrifice. That's being able to take those menial tasks that you have along the way. Those mundane tasks that you have along the way. And do your best to leave it better than you found it. That's putting in the work. Might not pay very much. The hours may be terrible. Pushing the broom, mopping the floor, cleaning the bathrooms. See, if God can trust you with a little bit, he can reward you with a whole lot more. He'll let you see your potential in real time. And if you're obedient enough, by the grace of God, you'll get a chance to live in that Deuteronomy 28 that everybody talks about. But that's really all I wanted to say about models. And if you know someone that's, we got a lot of kids that are graduating from high school, probably headed to college. It's important now that we need to talk to them about their credit. Credit is your power. Had I known what I know today, I probably wouldn't have had the difficulties in trying to obtain a loan for my business. But it was God's plan. So it was a reason that I had to go through that, because he was preparing me for some things. But I've also learned that the value of good credit, it is your power. What is credit? It's an algorithm that was invented in 1956 by an engineer named Bill Fair and a mathematician named Earl Isaac. It's to eliminate the prejudices that exist in the credit evaluation and lending practice. It's trying to make the process more fair. But usually you just show up and they see your color and your application is denied, right? But if you're competitive in your credit score, you got a 650, or that should be the range you're shooting for, 650 or over 700. The maximum you can have is 850. Your credit is your power. You don't believe me? Just get your credit in order and get your kids to understand the importance of credit so they don't mess it up when they're young. Get your credit right. Good credit allows you to go into the bank and say, I want to buy that $75,000 car. Man's going to say, well, let me pull your credit. If you pull your credit, usually that's the mystery, because most of us don't know where we are at that point in time. It's a mystery. So you feel as though you're at the mercy of the bank lender. Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be at the mercy of no bank lender. You can control these things yourselves. This is your power, but it's your responsibility, so that you don't put yourself in a position that other people can dictate what your fate will be. You walk into the bank, tell them what you want. Next thing you know, you are receiving a letter of approval to walk on any lot wherever you decide to go. And in the dealership, all they have to do is just send the information to your bank, and they tell you go pick out the car you want, and here's the keys. So that's the power of your credit is very important. And so I can't stress that enough. Any of y'all have any questions? This is a good place to talk about a few things. If you have any questions regarding credit models.
All right, let's give it up for Brother Stephone, because I got a lot of questions. First of all, I want to thank you for coming there. The last part, I want to start on that. When I left corporate America in June of 1995, put everything together, business plan, had A1 credit, the whole profile, the whole nine. And I was opening up, my first business was financial consulting and insurance and marketing consulting, business plan writing, proposal plan writing. And so I only needed $50,000. And I went to the financial institution and I was denied. A1 credit. Once they got into it, the next thing was, oh, your debt to asset ratio is over 45%. I said, well, I helped finance my college education at Xavier University. So that was a reason to deny. Now, I go to the dealership, automatic approval. So let's talk about consumerism credit versus equity credit, investment credit for a business. Those are two different things that they look at, because I could have qualified for a car loan or a house loan, but they weren't qualifying me for a business loan. Let's talk about that.
One of the things they usually look at when it comes to a business loan is that they like to see your history.
And that mic.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I might be talking loud enough. Most of the time when you go to a lender for a business loan, they like to see some history, or they definitely want to see some collateral. That's usually the way it is. You mentioned, we talked a little bit about debt to income ratio. That's important. You said yours was at 45. Yeah, the target range is 40 and under for a good debt to income. So if you got, and what do you classify as A1 credit?
Oh, I was like 800.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
yeah, I was 800 at that time.
Yeah, 800 credit. And usually, if you had the business history, that 45 would not have been relevant.
But you weren't going to have business history because you're a startup business. Yes. So that's what it's a game.
It is.
Because most of the people, nobody in Shreveport was doing marketing, consulting, or business planning that looked like us. So this was the business that was needed. So my corporate history was there, but it wasn't business history.
Yeah, and they see, they're trying to figure out how they can take a limited risk with you.
Exactly.
And that's the whole thing. They don't have enough information to go out on that limb, unless, of course, you talk to the right person, which is probably, the bank president or higher up. And so many things get done in the lending institutions. A lot of it may not favor us, but it gets done. You seem worse off than yourself. Our thing is just getting the right credit number. If you can get there, that's usually a door opener for a lot of people, and even if you're lacking somewhere else. But I would say, if you're trying to get a business loan, and if you know enough about the lending rules today, you got to get yourself ready for it so that you can go in there and have a favorable outcome. If that means saving, sacrificing, having some collateral to match what you're trying to borrow, so you have $50,000 that you're wanting to borrow, but you have no history, no business history yet. See, if your model is successful, you know it's going to be successful, but you're trying to get it off the ground. And in the meantime, you gotta save for that. If you believe in your goal and your dream, it'll come to you. You got 50,000 to match the 50 you're trying to borrow. That's just one number I'm throwing out. It might not require that much. Or some type of collateral is usually what the banks want to see. They want to have something that they can hold over you to make sure that you're gonna do your part. Okay, we're gonna do our part, but we want to make sure you're gonna go out there, put your nose to the grindstone, and make this business successful.
Okay, so now that was in 1995. Fast forward to 2007, and I'm launching Creole Soul Louisiana Meat Pies. So now, myself and my wife, we floated everything under her credit, because by now I had to take some hits to now navigate. So we floated 750 credit score that she had. We had over 50-some thousand of equity in the house. We owned our cars. We put up 10% of, we were going after 70,000. We put up 10% of the money in an account, had a business plan, had everything again, and we were still denied. Oh, and by the way, we also had an SBA guarantee. That was before Obama, so it guaranteed up to 75% of the loan at that time. And that was done through Mr. Cornelius, who used to be over the SBA. So we had all of this, and we were still denied. And they said, and we went through Harold Turner at Red River Bank, and we even gave them a sample of the product. So they were like, instead of us loaning you the money, why don't we give you the money? And I said, give. What do you mean when you say give? We would like to invest. Okay, so you won't loan us the money, but you invest so you can get about 35, 40% ownership in the company. So I simply say that, Stephone, because what we have to be able to do, although those things are there and they're supposed to eliminate the discrimination actually still exists because we don't have our own financial institution.
Right.
And we got to do a better job of a step. We don't have one bank that we own here in the city of Shreveport. That one bank used to be owned, of course, they turned that into a church. Everything is turned into a church. School church, barbershop church, post office church. And we only have Cattle Parish Teachers Credit Union.
Yes, that's right.
Is there another Negro financial institution? That's it. And so we have to, at some point, once I got over the hump of understanding that the white folks are going to say that these are our requirements, and even when you meet them, they're still going to deny you for a business loan. They'll let you have money for a car, a house, stuff like that. They don't want you to gain economic freedom.
That's right.
And so once I understood that, I stopped being angry at them, and I get angry at ourselves because, bro, kid, we don't have financial institutions. What's your point?
Well, I mean, we can take, there's a good example out there, most of you are aware of. You probably remember the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. Well, they called it Black Wall Street. And we had people that looked like us, own their own business, they were entrepreneurs, own their own bank institutions, and we lived in that community where we got all of our loans, all of our stuff was signed off on by Black people. And there's something you indicated about having that financial freedom, and that's exactly right. What caused the massacre was the fact that we were doing so well for ourselves, and they did not want to see that. So what do? They want to go and destroy everything that we built up, and that has not come back as of today. And that may have scared a lot of people that had aspirations to create an economic dynasty, if you will, in their own communities because of the fear of some fallout or some flashback. So it's out there. But I said all that to say this: we have the power and the talent in this room and in this community to do all of these things. You see what we are doing. We have some restaurants. We have some successful restaurants that are going on. We have some successful businessmen. I know a couple of them, and they're doing well for themselves. And so once we tap into the mainstream of banking, if we can ever get to that level, there's no limit to where our Black community can go. So
you mentioned also, and we'll go to the audience after this, you mentioned a very important thing a few minutes ago when you talked about the increase in personal credit card debt since the pandemic. It's almost like everything on social media is get a credit card.
Yeah.
Get a credit card. Finance. I mean, there are guys who are trying to finance building houses on a credit card at 30-something, 40% interest rates, which is ludicrous. Talk about that dynamic, because a lot of people are getting caught up in this whole credit card debt situation.
It's being held hostage by the credit cards. They are maximizing monies on our folks, especially our young folks, kids going to school, they're receiving stuff in the mail saying automatically $5,000 credit card. And for a child that doesn't understand budgeting and managing money, or maybe not even have a job as of yet, you can get yourself into so much trouble so quick that that $100 pair of shoes might end up costing you $750 because you're paying $5-7 a month to try to, the long term is what they're looking for. They're looking for that foolhardiness in us and our spending habits. I mentioned earlier about our tendencies. Your tendencies are your habits. The way you spend money, the way you save money, the way you make financial decisions, we've got to instill that in our kids at a very young age. We can't allow them to accumulate all this debt before the age of 18 or 19 or even 20, get out of college, and they're already upside down or underwater, as we say. And they have to spend the rest of their lives trying to pay off a debt that really didn't have to happen. They gotta be taught what the credit industry is trying to do. They want us to get a credit card. They want us to maximize that credit card. And they want you to carry a debt month to month. I have a few credit cards, but I only use them for emergencies. And when I say that, I say if I have to make a purchase, I try to pay it off that month and not carry that debt. That's where the percentage rates can get way out of hand and overwhelming for us. So, and in business, you're probably going to want something called a line of credit.
Yeah.
And to have a line of credit would represent that you have a good tendency to pay the debt back through good business practices.
Yeah.
It's your history, it's your reputation. I had $1 million in gross sales, so I always had a $100,000 line of credit.
Okay.
And the purpose for that line of credit wasn't just so I could go out there and buy an automobile or a vehicle. Now, what vehicles I did buy, I bought them through the company.
Yeah.
Okay. But that credit, that line of credit, was secure enough to where while I'm trying to establish cash flow, you get cash flow going in your company, you can use that line of credit to help take care of payroll, things like that. You might have an ice maker breakdown. These are things you can use your line of credit for to keep the business going while your cash flow is rolling. And then you pay it off. You don't hold on to it. You just pay it off. It's just there, kind of like a credit card, but it's through your bank.
Yeah.
And it's because you have a good reputation and a tendency to pay back your debt. So you don't like to labor there long. You just like to know you have it if you need it to keep your business going. Cash flow is important. And I was into data, so it was part of my job to understand the gross margin, returns on investment. I had to do cash flow analysis all the time, sales per square feet. All those things matter when you have a business, whatever the case might be. Now, I was invited over to Brotherly Love one time after they had established themselves.
Yeah.
And the data guy in me, as soon as I walked in, I saw all this space that wasn't being filled.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, it reminded me of the barbecue analysis where the guy thought he needed more space. But people will stand in lines for hours for some good barbecue, and they won't have a problem with it. I'm a witness to that because I went to Franklin's in Austin. They open at 11, they close at 3, and they usually sold out. I was there at 7 in the morning before they opened. And I waited all them hours to get me some barbecue to bring back to Shreveport. So that's what people do. You got to study the trends on what people want and stay in your lane when it comes to that. Sometimes if it's what they say, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it.
Yeah.
So, but you got to know the community you're in when you're building your brand.
I'm glad you talked about working capital. Leon. Stephone, do you know Leon Wheeler?
It's familiar.
All right, so Leon is over our fair share department. He just finished a few months ago, well, about a month ago, the University of Fair Share, trying to help our African American businesses, any business, but definitely our African American businesses, get on a level where they can now start to go after contract procurement opportunities with the city.
Okay.
Leon, would you not say that working capital is one of the biggest issues with a lot of African American firms in terms of business credit, those particular things?
I would base it, probably number one. Lack of capital. The lack of capital, you can't do anything. You can't.
Right.
You really can't legally. You're trying to do. But put another even forward, then capacity to run. Just the money itself ain't gonna make you successful. Sure. It just won't. Because you can mismanage money.
That's right.
If you don't have capacity, intellectual capacity to know what to do with it. So that's why the university leadership was told these small businesses understand how to truly run a business. You mentioned model, business model, you mentioned that over and over. Every business has similarities,
That's right.
regardless of what it is.
But regardless of the issue,
I don't care from science to cleaning toilets. There are similarities. Customers,
Yeah.
you don't need customers. You will need a location. You need marketing and advertising. You will need bank accounts. You need to understand financials. You will need an accountant. You will need a lawyer. All those things is involved. You will need good health. So, capital is up there, but it's not deep. Besides the fact that it takes a lot to run a business.
yeah.
It really does. I mean, it's not a game. Most folks get a business card, they say, I'm in business.
Yeah.
That ain't how it works. It's truly not how it works. This is a truly sophisticated adventure. And it's not for the faint of heart. A lot of folks, we tell them those good ideas, start a business. But probably in the black community, I would just say that about 95 to 98% of business fail within the first 5 years because they do not understand the intricacies and the complexities of running a business.
So then, why do you think most? I know the answer. I want to see if you get it. Why do you think most of our people want to go into business? Based on the 95, like you just said, 95 to 98% of our businesses are going to fail within, and it's fact, within the first 5 years. Why do you think so many people want to go into business?
Well, my case, it used to be, see the boss driving a nice car. I want what he had. I don't want to be working for the man.
That's the narrative. That's what's being pushed out. Would y'all agree? In terms of people, most people that I hear when they say they want to go into business, Brother Stephone, I don't want to work for the man no more.
Listen,
Who gets, Stephone, before you speak, who gets paid first?
oh, in my business, I pay my employees first.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean,
So you the owner get paid when?
I'm the last on the list. I want my employees to be happy. I want to pay them on time, even if it means me and Denise got to sacrifice a little bit.
That's right.
You know, but they come first, and we treat them accordingly. Let me say something about what I saw Orlandeaux do.
Yeah.
When he was at Pete Harris, and he was grinding, he was cooking, he was learning. I was interested. It seemed like everywhere we went, everybody knew him at a young age. He drove around his mother's Cadillac with no driver's license. He knew all the police officers, and they all knew him. And I mean, he was cultivating his future audience.
Yeah.
Back then,
Yeah.
His passion was clear where he was wanting to go, and so I learned from that because he was definitely a people person, and he was coming off of a model, a lineage that was passed down to him. And so when, like the brother was saying, the thing about it is, if it's so easy, everybody would want to do it.
Yeah.
And it isn't as easy as you think. You got to really have a passion for this. You got to have a taste for what it is you're doing. And when I mentioned models, it's got to be something you want to do and what you believe in. Now, I'm in the convenience store business, and you can consider me a mom and pop, not necessarily a brand. You can create your own brand out of a mom and pop because most of the time you're the only show in town.
Yeah.
So we don't want to see Walmart's coming in
Yeah.
in a small town because they can knock you right off off the map. And so what we do all the time is we have to revisit the model. You have to make sure what you have on the shelf is what people really want. And you got to listen to your community and what they're saying, what they'd like to see. And so we revisit that every quarter, see what's moving, studying the trends, see what the people are saying, listen to what the people are saying. I got a box that put an input in, let me know what's on your mind. And those kind of things matter if you really care about the health of your business.
Okay. I want you to make sure you get with Leon and Irma on Irma's speak. She, with the Martin Luther King CDC, they have a business training program. Irma, what are some of the core subjects that you all go over in your business deal? And why this is important, y'all? Because y'all seeing the schools being shut down, right? Y'all are hearing about the ESA, the Education Savings Account, right? I did a podcast on Sunday. And what our people don't understand is how public schooling is paid for. And it's paid for by property tax revenue. And guess who pays most of the property tax revenues in Caddo Parish? Who y'all think? Huh? Property owners, but who are those people in Shreveport? White folks. The property that most of our people own, Brother Ken, are not valued above $75,000. Why is that important? Because your homestead exemption does not now have you paying Caddo Parish property tax. The white folks say they're tired out here. And so if you don't start businesses, because businesses also pay property tax, if you don't start businesses, who's going to fund the public school? I mean, it's mine.
Our class is really like an introductory class for those persons who are wanting to go into business. And even though some of the parameters before you go in there, it's called take the lead. And so there are 4 classes, and the 5th session is what we call the voices of experience. And we bring in.
That's why I want you to bring Stephone in, because that'll be great from a mayor and a business owner to talk to your folks.
We put it on the platform for our class. Now, we started our classes with a grant with one of our banking industry, one of our banks, because the CRA, which we invested in, and this was the way to use that money back in the day. It's free, so you don't have to pay for it. It's free, but we start with baby steps and telling you how to do this, how to write a business plan, where your interest, what is your market. There are things that they have to do. They have assignments. You have to make your own marketing strategies. You have to decide what's best for you. And there are things like what he said when I spoke to the class that was over at Incubator several years ago. I said, I've been running my business, and when I did, I had 2 or 3 other employees at the time. And when they graduated, they went on. They left. I was by myself. I had a little research. You have to decide how to sit in here and not for yourself. So those are some of the things. I understand exactly what Leon is saying. Most of our younger people think, oh, I'm just going to be a big entrepreneur. I'm just going to be right. You teach them what is employee taxes, what you have to pay, what the feds will come and get. I just heard when I went to dinner on Mother's Day weekend that Laredo closed down.
Yeah, they did.
Shut down. But one of the guys that used to work there said, because they didn't pay the liquor license. I said, what? The liquor tax thing. And I said, what? The ATF, those people came in, shut it down.
That's right.
So those are the kinds of things we try to teach in that class, to tell you what is institutionally sound for your business. But our business is not the same as a convenience store. A restaurant is not the same as, say, a pizza, like they live here in town.
Exactly.
With all the licenses you have to have, and if you don't renew those licenses, you can't sell something, you can't do something.
That's right.
And teaching them how, first go in and set up your business with the Secretary of State. You gotta be registered, you have to have agents, all those kinds of things are things I'm sure we are doing the same kind of things.
I think
Sales and use tax.
Yes,
that's a lot of taxes involved in it.
you got to file for it.
Paying taxes on the chairs, you already paid taxes on, Office Depot, but from then on, you're gonna pay taxes on this chair to the parish.
Has to be reported.
They're gonna ask you to count up all your chairs you got in here, all your file cabinets, all your desks, all your telephone. Everything that's been inside your business, you got to add up. It's a depreciation step. You got to give a value to the parish, they will do a tax on you every year.
That's right.
And
That's a
if you
tax
buy
you're not even
something-
expecting when you,
You're not even thinking about
And
it.
if you
You're not
buy
even
something
thinking about
new, a new computer, you gotta put that on.
you got to add that.
That's right.
And they will visit you. They will shut you down for their money. That's what Craig talking about, those property tax, public funds were.
Public school,
Public school.
54% of your property tax to the parish goes to the public
That's
school.
what I'm saying.
And that's why white folks are basically saying, we need to figure out a way of extrapolating those tax dollars out because we're tired of funding those particular things.
Yeah, I have one last thing. Craig. But what happens is, we want to take our profit and spend 100%. We want
Crazy.
We want
To the
100%.
state,
So we'll file taxes to the federal government, you made 35, but you really made 150. Now you wanna take those tax returns to the bank,
Come on.
try to borrow money. Then you wanna call an accountant and you make up these taxes.
Come on.
You sending everybody to jail. So those are the business operating things that we do to keep up with success. It's okay to pay taxes, it really is.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing, I promise
Yeah.
you. I promise you, not bad.
That's the only way that you're gonna have parks and roads and schools and, I mean,
We want 100%.
I think that's why most people believe that they want to go into business, Brother Stephone. They want to, in their mind, make all of this money, but they don't understand the liability and accountability that comes with generating money.
That business model is so important because you have to account for all your expenses. You're generating your income. Cash flow analysis is so important, but you want to make sure that you're outlining your expenses, those categories as well, because your business model might need to change.
Yeah.
You know, it may not be practical or realistic. So all those things matter. That's why I went and talked to some folks that have been doing it much, much longer than me.
Yeah.
And I was studying, I was a student, they had me work in there sometimes so that I could be prepared for what I was about to get into. Because once you step in your business, everybody's looking at you. And you gotta have the answers. They don't understand all the taxes you're paying. And I remember one time, I just say this real quick, we had one of my employees sold some beer to an undercover person. So the ATF, they come around and they inspect that way. And I had to go to Baton Rouge and take care of that matter to keep from getting shut down. And so they, just accidents happen. The blonde-haired guy walked in there. He's only 15 years old. He goes back there, gets a 24-ounce beer, pays for it, walks right out. ATF sitting in my parking lot. So yeah, we gotta be mindful of those things. So those things are in there. It's all built into
It's
the
all a
model.
part of the business.
It's gonna happen. You have to be prepared to deal with it. And I face those matters head on. I don't leave that to anyone else to deal with. My name is on the business. I go face those head on with that.
Now, did I hear you say your first store was in Minden? Because I know y'all have a store down in Ringo, right?
Yeah, that's the only one I have is in Ringo.
Oh, okay.
We closed on that store in Minden.
Oh, okay. Al Janon has been in business for a while. Does any of this make sense to you, Al? Because I know you're sitting on about 5 million.
I see. I got people and things. We went talking financial literacy when I went to school. And that's what we all feel in my age. I've been in business since 2002, but I actually started doing business about 3 years ago, I got a credit. I was in business, but I wasn't doing business. I just had a building that I bought and just running business out of the business. I didn't do tax, I paid my taxes and, I got my business and occupational license, but I wasn't doing business. I was paying cash for a lot of stuff and, credit cards, a lot of people don't know. I'm just not finding out myself. I've been with Chase since 2010. Never got anything, like you said, I never got no big one. I went to Navy Federal out there, they once got $20,000 credit card in 15 seconds. Less than 3 months, I got $40,000. But what they don't tell you when you get the credit card is, if you stop paying, your interest still get paid. You still gonna charge them interest every month on that credit card. So whether you make that $35 payment or not, they're gonna put that $235 interest back on the credit card. So you still gonna owe, regardless. If it's $20,000, I spend $20,000, my interest is $500 a month, and my payment is out of that $500 a month. The interest on it is $400 and something dollars, so I'm only putting $100 toward that $20,000, and they get $400 a month whether I pay it or not. So if I pay $10,000 of that $20,000 down, I'm still paying that $300 interest, and ain't but $100 and $125 going toward that $20,000. They don't tell you that. So the literacy part we didn't ever get in high school. Because they never taught us that your credit, you don't need it that way to go. Credit line is the way to go. But like you say, it's so many different doors that you gotta go through to get that credit line, and it is kind of hard for us to get it. But if we knew that 20 years ago, I would come out of high school, I had a dealer's credit card. First phone I ever had in my life. Grambling homecoming, dealer's credit card. Y'all didn't know what happened. I was the cleanest thing in Grambling. So I'm like, I maxed it out the first day I got it. The first day I got that dealer's credit card, I'm fresh out of high school, working at County Morgan, $180, like $122 a week. So I was winning, but I maxed it out. And I'm paying them $25 a month. Man, how long are you gonna take to pay? It's $400 off, you know what I'm saying? You look at your credit, wait a minute, man, out of 125, 88 going on interest and the rest of it going to the credit card. So they never gave us the literacy of what the interest is. All you know is I got a $20,000 credit card, and they give you a $400 cash advance. So you should know then. If they ain't gonna give you a $400 cash advance on $20,000, it got to be something. But we never learned that the credit score is something you're gonna have to have even when you're doing business. In some places, your personal credit got to be straight before you do anything with the business.
That's right.
See, that's a lot of stuff that I had to learn. I'm learning now, but the first fall I ever had was I didn't have no credit because I paid cash for it. They said I don't have no credit. I haven't built any credit. So I said, well, that credit card. So there I went, boom, down in the hole. Been shoveling dirt out this hole, and I shoveled twice, and they throw some more dirt on it, and you never come out of that stuff, man. And it just you have to know financial literacy. The goal is to not get rich, but to stay rich. Everybody want to be rich, but wealth is better than being rich. I'd rather be wealthy than I be rich, because rich is for a second. Everybody express a lottery ticket and win $1 million, but how long are you gonna have that $1 million? So the goal is to be wealthy. And I just learned late. So now I'm on the treadmill. I'm on the treadmill on 100. I ain't got no energy there. That's just like being on the treadmill. You don't do it to stay on it, but we just got a late start, and right now it'd be better to teach out. I'm teaching my son now. Right now. Hey son, my son just bought my house. He's 25 years old. He bought my old house. I took him to the bank. I said, whatever they approve you for, you can get my house. He gave me $150,000 for it. He got that house. He got his credit like $750, almost $800, and he's 25. I was 25, struggling at a 540, struggling, because everybody teach me that. But him right now, I can get a line of credit off of him, and he's 25, and I'm 50. So, I'm teaching him now so he can pass it down to his kids, but they never taught us that. If I haven't been coming here for the last 3 years, I would never know about this, because I still in business, but not doing business.
You see the dilemma that we're in, Stephone? So I'm glad that you sparked this. Now, I will say, I have not dealt with credit for the past, since 2005. And to your point, so that's what, 19 years?
Yeah.
So, But now I have to deal with it based on the housing development initiatives that I want to do, because you got to go into debt in order to get that working capital. It's the craziest thing, because they said the SBA pulled my credit. It's like, dude, you ain't got no damn credit. And I say, hell, that's a good thing, right? I say, no, you got to go into debt to get. I'm like, but that's the game. But you gotta manage it. So it's like, okay, I got a little credit card. I pay my. I went to a bank, as a matter of fact, and got a $250 little line of credit, whatever. So I pay. It's supposed to be 40. I pay 50. So I'm having to play this damn game in order to establish some credit. In order to then go to what Al was talking about, the business credit. But you still have to generate, as they were talking about, and you're talking about, the cash, and keep your overhead low so you can have profit. So you're playing like 15 different games at the same time. Most people just need to go to work. They don't need to be business owners. What you think about it?
Well, you know, I will say this. It's never too late, that brother was saying. We don't need to beat ourselves up too hard. I'm a late bloomer as well. I mean, if I knew then what I know now, I think I'd be a little bit better shape and would have made better decisions. So I mean, just realize it is what it is. But if you're serious enough to create a model that you believe is doable, then you're willing to put the work in to get your credit in order, get the whatever collateral that you're going to need. You know the game is out there, but you can play it and you can win at it.
Yeah.
You can be successful. I'm a witness to that. It wasn't always easy. It's difficult. It can be difficult, but the reward is phenomenal. If you can achieve that success, the reward of it is phenomenal. Being a business owner, being able to wake up every day knowing that you're setting the pace for what it is your lifestyle is going to be.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful experience.
Are you even thinking about any expansion beyond your one store?
No, I want to stay within the model that was created because it's working. Now, if I were 20 years younger, perhaps. Yeah, but no, I'm ready to sit down and enjoy life. Jerry, I tell you.
Are you willing to be a consultant to some individuals who may want to be in that realm in Shreveport based on what you're doing?
I'm already doing that. Yes,
Good go.
yes.
How do people get in touch with you?
Through you.
That's right. I got his number.
Yeah, all they got to do is reach out to me. That'll be fine. But that's part of the spin-off.
Beautiful.
I started off as just being, an administrator, but the spin-off of that was budgeting, consulting, and the whole 9 yards. This has been a wonderful experience. I surely appreciate you all's hospitality. I hope the information was useful, and that we can put it to use in our own personal lives.
Let's give it up for Stephone and Taylor.
God bless.
RINGGOLD